so glad that I finally have some sort of family or team or whatever. Aw.
Luli. I walked into my room only to find Luli sitting on my bed in her underwear, reading my journal. It was a late morning for me because I had spent the entire night walking the cold, gray beach with John Wynne. Last night, the moon was almost full. Tonight, the pirate ship, which had loomed and bobbed ever closer, would beach on our shore. Or so John Wynne said. I had just woken up and my mind still felt hazy.
It's a cute diary. You're a pretty good writer.
Give it here. Luli tossed me my journal. We really need to have a talk about boundaries.
So, you gonna tell us what you and my man's John Wynne were up to last night?
The boat that's been lurking past the cliffs?
Yeah, the one John Wynne's been making me memorize the replica of for like a week now.
An electric charge pulsed through me, dissipating my morning fog. How had I never connected that that's what...
Hello? What did you and John Wynne talk about on the walk?
It was about preparing for the raid. Luli, I think he wants you to lead us.
Did he tell you anything new?
Good morning. Is this a private meeting? No, please come in. Iris took a seat carefully on the edge of my bed. She folded her legs, which were clothed in long satin pajama pants that matched her button up top. Her hair sat in a high mussy bun on top of her head. She gnawed at some dried salted seaweed. Luli grabbed a handful and dusted my bed with green flakes.
We're discussing the ship.
Oh yeah, the raid's tonight, right? What with the full moon and all? She looked to Luli conversationally. I was becoming increasingly aware that I was late to the show and had been written out of the plot. So, what did he tell you? How are we going to defend ourselves against the raid? What's the plan? Iris and Luli both looked at me expectantly from my bed. I stood in my doorway, dumbly. He just told me that we're going to try to beat them to the punch. I thought back to all the lines that John Wynne had drawn into the sand last night as the waves crashed and the ship lurched. I was too tired to recall much. He had woken me up in the middle of the night to summon me on the walk. They expect us to be in the shack, but we, one step ahead, will infiltrate the ship when they leave. When they realize we're not in our quarters and return to the ship to sleep, we'll take them by surprise.
Yeah, remember the Alamo.
Luli pumped her arms wildly. Iris gave her a quizzical look.
They killed them in their sleep is all I'm saying. A cheap victory is still a victory, and it cost less.
So, tonight, we break into the ship once we see the pirates move to stake out the shack, but then what? I'm pretty sure Luli's supposed to take it from there. Iris and I looked to the girl who was crumbling seaweed into her mouth, which was opened like a hatch door.
I could walk through each twist and turn of that damn boat with my eyes closed and both legs behind my head.
Iris looked at me furtively. I shrugged. John Wynne seems to think the plan is solid.
There's a 50-50 chance of failure.
Those are pretty bad odds, right?
No, everything's 50-50. Can't you die on the spot sitting there right now? Like Schrodinger's cat or box or something. At any moment, we're all equally likely to be dead or alive.
Iris began to look more nervous. Luli, Schrodinger's quantum and you know it. Luli shrugged.
The way I see it, we're just like that cat. We're all alive on that ship hiding, and if they look into our hiding spots, then wham, we're dead.
Luli.
What? John Wynne said someone has to die tonight.
He said that?
Yeah. That it would be them or us, or some of them and one of us. Something like that.
My blood ran cold. Well, which was it?
Well, I don't know, Miss Physicist. Those are just the odds that John Wynne told me.
If it's them or us, 50-50. If it's some of them and one of us.
John Wynne doesn't seem too worried. He's suffered with that stupid enchanted medallion long enough. It's more likely cursed, if you ask me, from the books that I've read. He's just ready to put this away once and for all, whatever the cost.
Luli, what are you saying?
The ivory medallion? You've never asked him about it?
I was made aware yet again of my shocking lack of awareness. John Wynne wears an intricately carved sand dollar of ivory beneath his shirt. I never really considered how juxtaposed this was to his plain and unassuming nature. It's a mermaid's protection talisman, right?
Yeah,
Luli said, looking increasingly bored.
My mother used to tell me stories about the rare gifts mermaids would give men at sea. On rare occasions, sirens would fall in love with the explorers and give them tokens of their affection to guide them home or protect them from evil spirits. They would carve spells into something strong and sturdy like ivory, but disguise them to look like something frail and worthless like sand dollars. But my mom always said this was a myth created by arrogant explorers who wanted to believe that the sirens truly loved them. My mom told me never to accept one or even touch one. She said that the men who held on to them were delusional and likely cursed.
Exactly.
So John Wynne has a secret mermaid admirer?
Actually, I assume he stole it or came across it on a beach somewhere. He must have known what it was and decided it was pretty valuable, but he, like so many others, didn't read and realized that a mermaid medallion is eternally loyal to its original owner. It sends out omens like a beacon that makes it almost impossible to lose.
So the pirates are here to reclaim it.
I assume so.
So why can't we just give it back?
Even touching a mermaid medallion that wasn't gifted to you is a death sentence among sailors. It's unforgivable.
Another thing I can only guess John Wynne didn't know. Anyways, if we can just sneak back into the ship without getting caught, maybe they'll leave us in peace, since they won't know who took it. But if they see any of us with it,
Luli drew her finger across her throat.
or maybe they'll just kill us all.
Iris shuddered. My mind reeled.
Well, anyway, until tonight then.
Luli abruptly slapped her hands against her thighs and made to leave the room. Where are you going?
I have to give Tyrone his book. I promise I won't be long.
She gave a suggestive smirk and wink.
I'll be back here way before we need to move out. Scout's honor.
Iris and I sat at the breakfast table together, discussing the nature of ghost pirates and sailing ships. She had remarkable knowledge of ancient explorers and pirate culture, as well as seafaring manners.
Father lets me travel with him sometimes, despite my mother's protests. He says that if things change in Aquaria one day, I may be a great explorer, but I need to understand the codes and unspoken rules. He was one of the big proponents of letting me come to shore. I think he suspects that I have the explorer's nature.
My mind wandered while I listened to Iris's stories of the sea. I thought about how, before the collapse, I was a skeptic. I didn't believe in dragons or mermaids or cryptids, and people who did, I always suspected were just pretending to believe, to add intrigue to their lives. But, obviously, after the world fell to an alien race, and all of humanity was forced underground or out to sea, it was like the room was cleared again for all the creatures that had seemingly disappeared after industrialization. They seeped out of the mountains, their caves and untouched forests. The vampires and werewolves, goblins and fairies all shed their disguises. I suppose they've been here all along. I recognize now that ages of stories and creatures consistent through folklore corroborated tales of beasts with brutal fangs and melted faces. These must have been rooted in truth. And these things didn't disappear with the invention of electrical lighting. They hid. It took a long time for me to accept the collapse of reality. It's been almost 10 years, and I still struggle to believe some of the beasts or creatures I've met face to face. I keep thinking that one day I'll wake up and all these things with wings and spectral nature will wisp away and become fantasy again, as soon as someone turns the lights back on.
Do you think we should check on John Wynne?
Iris was looking out the window anxiously. John Wynne was walking around the cliffs down by the beach, collapsing on his knees over and over again and hurling stones out into the sea, tearing at his own clothing. Probably so. We walked out to the water's edge and met John Wynne there. He sensed us, and then addressed us with some embarrassment. Are you ready? I think so. We spoke to Luli this morning. We're just providing the reinforcement, right? Where is the weird one? She's supposed to be covering the plan with you. She went to go bring her boyfriend a book. What? Come with me. John Wynne began storming back up to the shack. Iris and I followed him briskly. John Wynne spread a large parchment across the coffee table and started to scratch lines across it feverishly. I recognized the bay, our shack, and the cliffs. He scratched 2 X's up into the cliffs along a right angle surrounding the bay where the ship was now beached. You two will wait here until you see the pirates leave the ship. Do not move until you see 20 figures leave the boat. And when they do, that girl better be back to show you where to hide. With this, he walked back out to the beach, pulling anxiously at the medallion all the way. We ate together. It was a pensive and hearty meal, like a funeral reception. Lily still had not come back, and the night was falling behind the cliffs. When we finished, John Wynne gathered the dishes and placed them in the sink. He did not wash them. We can do it when we return. And I recognized that this was as much as a pet talk as we'd be getting. With only a few words, Iris and I began to load ourselves down with weapons. I had my dagger strapped to my thigh. Iris was praying a small beaded rosary. I said a prayer to myself and addressed it to whomever may be listening. My senses were heightened as we stepped out into the night. The air seemed frigid and the waves were deafening. I could smell the wet stones and salt. I could smell something faintly acrid through the odor of fish. We walked into the cliffs and watched John Wynne disappear behind the ship. As we separated, she looked like she was about to cry. I'll see you at the ship. Just before I moved to climb up the cliffs, she threw her arms around me from behind, and I pat her hands in front of me, awkwardly. It'll be okay, I said, unconvincingly. I heard her sniff as she continued walking down the narrow trail to the cliffs. I could feel the bugs buzzing and my feet shifting in the gravel. The night vibrated. All my senses were heightened as I locked my eyes on the ship.
So, things are going well, I assume.
Jesus Christ!
Our Lord and Savior.
Lily smirked.
No pirates yet?
No, not yet. Where the hell have you been?
I told you I had to give Tyrone back his book.
Lily motioned to a bend in the trail, and from behind her, Tyrone stepped out. Sup? Lily, you just bring your boyfriend on a life or death mission? Not her boyfriend.
Listen, he's going to make himself real useful. You'll thank me.
I eyed her suspiciously.
You'll see.
I feigned annoyance but didn't pry. It was admittedly more fun that way. I hoped she was right.
Iris is stationed up there, right?
She pointed to the cliffs perpendicular to us, along the narrow trail. Yeah, she should be. Lily nodded.
You know the plan?
We enter the ship and hide, and attack them if things get out of hand with John Wynne. She nodded.
Pretty straightforward, yeah.
She pulled out the ship from her drawstring bag and cradled it in her hands. She explained to me in excruciating detail how to enter the large dining hall and hide in a secret cubby to keep watch. And John Wynne?
He's going to try to replace the medallion without them noticing. He'll have to kill the night watchman, most likely, but hopefully we can get in and out with just 2 casualties.
Wait, aren't these ghost pirates?
Yeah.
How do you kill a ghost? I'm glad Tyrone asked, because I hadn't even thought of that.
They have to assume their bodies to fight us. Probably simply skeletal now, resting in the bottom of the ship. We can incapacitate their physical bodies. The spirits will still live on the ship, but they won't be able to touch us. If the night watchman alerts the others, it'll likely become a battle of us and them. Best case scenario is that John Wynne gets past the watchman, returns the medallion to its resting place with the bodies, and we can all leave the ship and hide in the cliffs until the pirates give up searching. The bet is that they won't risk their bodies once they have what they came for.
The night and silence drug on endlessly. Wicked thoughts filled my mind in the space the silence left. What if we just backed out? Isn't this just a John Wynne curse after all? Why did he have to bring us into this fight? Had this been his plan since the very day he moved in, to have some warm bodies to help him escape his fate? Why don't we just turn tail now? My stomach began to hurt and my hands and feet grew cold. Would John Wynne risk his life for me? Would any of these people? The sound of the waves crashing felt amplified in my anxious mind.